So what do you do? As a business school student, I have answered this question approximately 500 times this year. That's only a slight exaggeration. As it turns out, I have a bit of a unique background. I was an English major who worked in film production before transitioning to finance and then pursuing my MBA. Most people can make the connection between the first bit and the second bit, and the third and the fourth, but the film to finance transition is usually somewhat puzzling at first. In some ways, they're not so different. In film, you're dealing with big diva personalities, and in finance, you're dealing with big diva personalities. But one thing that is very different is the contrast between the perspectives of the two industries. To illustrate, there is a questionnaire called the Herman Brain Dominance Instrument. It's a test you can take to see what your work preferences are. When I was working in finance as an HR exercise, my team and I took this test. There are 4 quadrants you can land in. There's blue, which shows a preference for numbers and facts. Then there's green, which shows a preference for planning and risk mitigation. Then there's red, indicating a preference towards building relationships, talking, and mentoring people. And then there's yellow, which has a preference for the new and novel. What can be done? As you might expect, and frankly as you might hope, my finance teammates predominantly had blue-green preferences. They cared mostly about what the numbers said and having proper planning in place to mitigate risk. And then there was me. My yellow and red preferences were so high I was nearly out of the circle entirely. And I suspect if my film colleagues had taken that test, most of them would have been right there with me. And that's kind of my point. The importance here is the contrast. It allows you to notice things you might have missed otherwise. When I was in film, my perspective wasn't that different. It was only once I transitioned to finance I started realizing what I was missing and what they were. I think it's this exposure to the different perspectives that's been a key ingredient in creating my best initiatives throughout my career so far. And I think this kind of cross-disciplinary thinking is especially important now. The technology sector is in need of different perspectives. The pandemic has revealed that we're innovative, but maybe not as much as we thought. The sector's deep expertise, especially in logistics and communications, has thankfully kept things going. But we've seen huge gaps in products built for sectors such as mental health, education, and caregiving. Fortunately, with the increase in demand, there have been new products coming out to address these issues, but we need many more. Technology's promise has always been that it would free up people's times for more valuable pursuits, but the pandemic has revealed that we haven't been doing enough of that. Important, valuable sectors remain under-innovated, but I believe this is just the beginning of the next wave in product design, similar to how the 2008 global financial crisis brought on the next wave in finance. So in many ways, the pandemic appears to be to technology what the 2008 global financial crisis was to finance. The global financial crisis also revealed a lot of gaps within that sector. In particular, it raised the question, what's finance's purpose in society? And asking this question proved to be incredibly positive experience for the industry overall. Instead of always feeling the need to fulfill this default expectation of profit at all costs, finance could step back and explore its role in society. And this could be technology's moment to do the same. But to create new products, new approaches will be needed, and that means mixing different perspectives. And indeed, research supports the finding that diverse teams ultimately make better, more innovative teams. But that only works when those different perspectives listen to each other and work together. This can be a challenge. People think a certain way because they truly believe it's the right way to think, and it can be difficult to convince them otherwise. So in case it's helpful, I'd like to walk you through some steps I discovered while working on an initiative that meant a lot to me, the creation of our platform's first sustainable finance strategy. These steps helped me contribute my perspective despite being an outsider personality. Before we begin though, it's important to note that you should be excellent at meeting your team's expectations already. The reason for this is if you're at the top of your game and handling everything deftly, this will earn your colleagues' respect. And when you advocate for change, even if your colleagues don't initially agree with you, they will listen to you. Okay, this is the foundation. Now on to the steps. Step 1, determine the unique perspective you have to contribute. I'm a proud Planeteer. For those of you unfamiliar with the reference, it comes from Captain Planet, a kids' cartoon show featuring teenage superheroes who come together to fight pollution using the powers of nature. Earth, wind, fire, water, and heart. That was my perspective. I came from a generation that grew up watching Captain Planet and reading about Silent Spring and social studies. We were taught to be concerned about the environment. Furthermore, I came from a sector, film, which truly believed, in the purest sense of the notion, that anything is possible. This gave me my unique perspective. I believe that there was a market coming that would want investments that incorporated environmental, social, and governance factors. Combined with my anything can be done outlook from film, I set to work. That brings me to number 2. Step 2, prepare so that you can be ready for the right moment. Even when the idea is there, it needs to meet its moment. Sustainable finance has been a concept for a few decades now, but it remained a niche market for a long time. But over the last decade, with the moment of pause from the global financial crisis, the emergence of data showing that ESG investing results in better long-term performance over time, and above all, growing customer demand, that made scaling the strategy possible. If you can see the value of your idea on the horizon, start preparing for that moment as soon as possible, so you'll be ready for it when it comes. See what resources are available at the firm, start reading books and articles, and importantly, start reaching out to your colleagues. And that brings me to step number 3. Build meaningful relationships with your colleagues. Interview your colleagues to get a better understanding of the current team culture and your colleagues' unique perspectives. Meet with them individually if possible, maybe taking them out for coffee, tea, and be sure you don't only ask them questions about your idea. Build a real relationship and ask them questions about themselves. What do they value? What excites them? And what worries them? It's important to do this for 2 reasons. 1, from a purely logical perspective, you'll need these people to support you if you want your idea to progress forward. And 2, your colleagues have genuinely valuable insights. Learning about them will help you to enhance your idea. And that brings us to step 4. Round out your idea using the new information you've learned. Using the information you've gathered from your colleagues, start rounding out your idea. What has the exceptionally logical colleague pointed out to you that you might have initially missed? What potential pitfalls has the socially connected teammate highlighted? Synthesize your colleagues' points of view to enhance your approach, and be sure to credit your teammates' contributions. Just as you would prepare for a debate by thinking of arguments that will be used against you, use that same mode of thinking here. This will make your initial idea and its implementation much stronger. Step 5, the final step, but the longest step. Socialize and continuously iterate on the idea. This part is why it's so important to go with an idea you're passionate about. You will need to constantly re-underwrite your idea. It will take a lot of energy and effort from you. You will need to keep enhancing the idea with additional perspectives, defend it, and shepherd it through implementation. But I think it's worth the effort. I'm absolutely convinced that everybody has a perspective worth contributing, and I hope these steps can help you bring forward your unique perspectives to change things for the better in technology and beyond. This crisis, as terrible as it's been, is also providing a window of opportunity to rethink technology and its role in society. New perspectives will be urgently needed to solve the issues that have been revealed and the ones yet to come. Up until now, the mantra in technology has been mainly to move fast and break things. But I think we're ready for the next frontier, to move fast and fix things. I'm ready to be part of that, and I hope you are too. Thank you for your time today.